No matter how many warnings I give, the addiction to going to real estate agents and allowing yourself to be set up and completely hoodwinked is overwhelming to most North Americans. And real estate agents know this. And while there are some wonderful real estate agents out there, they are the exception, not the rule. And if you are engaging someone from abroad, the chances that you will not be hoodwinked or scammed or conned or at least pay some outrageously crazy amount of money that makes absolutely no sense is through the roof. I'm doing this video, one, as people just today have been sending me an architect who is posting videos with completely fake information or very skewed information, pretending that there's no way to get lower prices on house construction when everyone we know is getting lower prices than he's saying is the bottom of the market. But more importantly, literally as I'm recording this, a friend of ours who recently purchased a home here in the Leon area has one of the real estate agents that they did not use for the house actively talking to someone trying to sell them the house, making claims like the price was dropped today. It's not even for sale. They're acting like today things are going on with the house. They have an active conversation in which they are trying to con them into something. But the question comes up, they can't sell a house that isn't for sale. What are they doing? So today on today's show, I want to talk about why would they try to do this? What is their game? Because clearly it can't be to actually sell the house. Property laws in Nicaragua are pretty good, so that's not really a concern. There's no way a real estate agent is just going to sell a house out from under you. They must be getting at something else, and I guarantee they are. So we're going to break down the financial realities and the emotional realities and how this works, because I've seen this happen so many times to me when I was young and foolish and didn't know just how dangerous it was to blindly engage a real estate agent here in Nicaragua, or really pretty much anywhere. But here it's especially dangerous because they know how little access to resources you have. And again, there are some good real estate agents out there, and they can be quite difficult to find. And in some markets, some parts of the country like San Juan del Sur or in Villa Fontana, they can make a lot more sense because you have a gringo market that you're selling to and from. And there can be limited times where it may make sense, especially to be dealing with a seller's agent. We'll dig into more of that because there are some changes this year to the real estate laws that do make it plausible to work with some real estate agents, slightly different than in the past. But the thing that you can't do, you can't just reach out and start talking to any real estate agent. You will never be able to decipher who is actually representing houses or not. So let's dig into what is going on with this particular situation, we think, and how they are likely to be using this fake listing of a house in order to con someone. So in this particular situation, the house that is being pretended to be for sale is a real house, and the pictures that are being shown of the house are real pictures. This is possible because, well, one, because it is actually a real house, but because it was recently on the market just a few months ago, and during that time it was posted online some places and pictures of it were taken. So legitimately, the information about the physical structure of the house, the number of bathrooms and bedrooms and such, is accurate, we presume, because it's simply being pulled from other listings. And so in many cases, houses may be fake that are even being shown online. But in this case, it's a real house, but not one that's for sale. So there's a couple things that come up. One, the fact that it's for sale is obviously fake. Two, the agent who is representing the house or claiming to is obviously faking their own role as a real estate agent. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the price. Of course, it's not for sale. So whatever price is listed is automatically a fake price. Now, we don't know if it's really high, a little high, kind of low. It doesn't really matter. But why would someone do this? What could be their end game? So there's a lot of these misinformation campaigns that go on around real estate, and we see this constantly. And individually, they can be effective, and accumulatively, altogether, they are super effective. So there's a benefit to doing this even for people who are running these kinds of scams, even if the individual scam is not very effective. In this particular case, obviously, having the conversations and wasting effort talking to someone and convincing them that this house is for sale, getting the price down because they posted price drop today to get attention. They're having private conversations about it. So How could they benefit? Well, it's pretty simple. Imagine I'm an agent and I want to talk you into buying from me. And I've had this happen to me personally, both in San Juan del Sur and in Leon. So it's a very real thing. It's a tactic that works. They start by showing you lots of properties, or a few at least, something to whet your appetite. You see a house, you go, wow, that is a place I could live with. Maybe it's not my dream house, but I'm certainly interest piqued, right? Let's go check it out. Let's find out. And they start with a pretty good price. You thought it was going to be X. You thought it was going to be 300,000. They come in with 225,000. You're like, this is way more possible than I was expecting. And of course, they can list any price they want because the house isn't really for sale. So they can feed you whatever number they think is going to be effective for you. You start looking and they go, you know what? Cool. Actually, I got contacted by the owner today. I say this, right? I got contacted by the owner today. They've dropped this to 200,000. And you go, seriously? And you say, look, they're desperate to sell. They're going to move fast. And you start getting into a mental place. And this is really important, right? Most people, when you're buying a car, a house, or something like that, at some point, you're just casually looking and you're not emotionally tied to a property. You drop the price, you get someone on the hook, you get them really excited, and they become emotional because they start envisioning themselves living in the house. And in a case like this, they start envisioning living in a community. It could be living in a downtown neighborhood of Leon. And you're like, ooh, imagine walking to the cathedral. Imagine being able to walk to Desayunazo and get breakfast. Imagine to be able to walk on the street. Maybe I'd run into Scott Allen Miller while he's out filming his show. That would be the life. And of course, then you get addicted to it. Or maybe you're showing the mountains and you're like, wow, we could be around the corner from this waterfall and there's this great cafe down the street, and you never know, we might run into Scott Allen Miller having a coffee. So you get mentally attached to that. Or maybe it's a place near the beach and you're like, you know what? I'm suddenly envisioning our life having cocktails and sitting by the beach on the afternoon. Scott walks by filming the beach. What a life it is, right? You can see a common theme. Once you know I might be there, it's hard not to want to get a house. So the idea here is to plant that seed in someone's mind and move them through the process to the point where they start to envision themselves in the house and feel like it's a decision that they've made. And this is a standard psychological sales tactic, but normally we're not baiting and switching with it. We're just getting someone mentally attached. They want to buy the car, the house, whatever. We were just car shopping recently. When you go, of course, they put you into the seat and they do everything they can to make you imagine it was your car. Imagine how nice it'll be when you have this beautiful stereo to listen to. Imagine how nice it'll be going on trips with this comfy seat. Imagine this is the steering you have, or this is the cargo area you have. They want you to put your place there, and you start to feel attached to it. And when they yank it away and go, ooh, I wasn't able to get you that deal we were hoping for, you go, but I really want it. Now it's not just a deal. It's not just a logic decision. It's not math. Now it's emotional. And now you make reckless decisions. And so that's the goal here. I'm sure they want to get someone who's really addicted to this house, who's talked to their spouse, got permission to buy a house, started shifting money around, maybe figuring out how they'll shift money around. They go through the paperwork to ensure that they're ready to do a wire transfer. They're not actually moving money. We're not talking about stealing money here per se yet, maybe, but we're definitely talking about getting someone into a mental place. Then when it comes time and they're like, you know what, we're ready. Let's make an offer. They've been dropping the price. We're willing to take it. We'll try to get a little bit cheaper, but we'll be okay if we have to go with the asking price. Since it's dropping, there's no way they're going to ask for more. Right as you go to make that offer, suddenly it's, you know what, I'm so sorry, guys. I thought that this was going to, stay on the market for a little while. Like, they don't normally move this fast. Things are heating up, though, and they dropped that price. They were over anxious, but the person who came in was so desperate to get this house. It was such a perfect deal. They offered them not what they were asking now. They didn't even know about the price drop. They offered them the higher number from before. Instead of 225, they offered them 295, nearly the 300 they had originally. And of course, they took it. It's gone. I'm sorry. And then they'll have another house ready. You know what? Okay, this one isn't quite your dream house, but it's in the same downtown. It's in the same mountain. It's on the same beach, and it's within your price range. I guess we could look at it. And you're already into this mental place where you're attached, and you believe you're going to get a place, and you're picturing yourself there. And a lot of people, especially when you're buying a second house or a second car or whatever, you start being like, well, okay, well, it'll go fast. I can't let this opportunity go by. What if there aren't any more? And we stop using logic, like these prices aren't real. The lots, there's tons of lots available. I could build my own place if I couldn't find the right one. I've got time, I have, everything's on my side. There's no reason to be rushing into a house. But we've gotten into this mental place where we pictured ourselves moving in tomorrow. We pictured ourselves changing our life for this, and we're really excited about it. So now we're willing to spend too much and buy too quickly without doing our due diligence because we got into that mental state. And so that is a very real driving factor why people are willing to do this. They'll put in a bunch of effort because they're getting you on the hook, and it is an incredibly powerful sales tactic. So I want you guys to, one, just always be aware if you're doing business remotely to any place, but especially here in Nicaragua, you got to be super, super careful. These are things, we give so many warnings about this. Two, be really careful working with real estate agents, right? If you're not talking to the homeowner, assume they're not the representative. Once in a while they are, absolutely. But if that's the case, talk to the owner, and the owner can refer you to an agent that they want to represent them. Not a problem. But unless the owner verifies that that is the case, assume it is not. If you don't have proof of who owns the house, you don't know who you're negotiating with. Do not negotiate anything. Do not discuss desire. Do not discuss price. Do not discuss anything until you have reasonable proof, probably given to your lawyer, that they actually represent the house and have the power to negotiate, and that negotiations are final. Because if they don't, they can negotiate all they want, get you to a price that you've agreed to, they've agreed to. They can then, if they don't actually have the house under advisement, they can go to the homeowner if they want and say, hey, I've got someone, I know they'll pay more than this for the house. Are you willing to let me sell it? They've already got you to negotiate to a price. They know everything about what you're willing to do. They know everything about what you're able to do. They're now able to try to convince that homeowner to sell that house. So if you negotiate to $150,000 and you're like, okay, I will do it at $150,000, they can go to the homeowner and be like, okay, look, I know your house is only worth $80,000. I'm going to take $70,000 as a commission. You're going to get your $80,000 that you're owed, and we're going to try to get you a little extra and me a little extra because we're going to push them up because I know how desperate they are. And now that we know what they negotiated down to, we can just pretend that there was some misunderstanding. Since I'm not authoritative, I'm not the person who's negotiating, we can negotiate again. I've had that happen too. I've had all these things happen, right? These are very real things that happen, and this one is happening right now. As I'm making this video, it is happening. And we're going to talk about on the live stream that you will have already seen if you're watching and participating in the live streams. That will have happened on Thursday. So this will definitely come up because it's happening in real time as the live stream's about to start. But I wanted to get this video done and talk about this very real type of scam. And I know that people just don't believe that this stuff happens, but because there are very loose traditions around real estate, because there is no culture around real estate, meaning agents and agencies, and because the laws about it are brand new and not well enforced, not well understood. Many of the people are not likely licensed. Make sure you get an actual licensed real estate agent. I know in older videos, we said there wasn't licensure, and there wasn't, but now there is. And Paul Damon, who has passed away, did a pretty good video about what was the expected results of the new licensure process, I believe in 2023, and the whole thing took quite some time, right? As it does, like these things do not happen overnight. So he talked about how those changes would affect things, but it's taking time for those things to come into effect. And so we're still seeing the beginnings of that system begin to come into place. And you really need to be wary because there's still tons of people out there who know that you probably don't know what you need to know to check. And just like other things, like lawyers, it's easy to say you're a lawyer. There are easy ways to look it up, but if you don't know how to do that, you're in the dark and you have no idea who you can trust and who you can't. So assume you need to see real licensure and have real guarantees that they actually represent properties, or assume that they don't. And the easiest thing is talk to the owners, not the agents. Just talk to the owners. They will direct you to who you need to go to. And if they don't get involved. There's no chance you want to be involved in something where the person claiming to be the owner, who actually owns the property, is unwilling to even tell you who you can talk to. That means whatever you do, it's not going to go well in your favor by the end of the day. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you want to help support the channel and the work that we do here, you can buy me a coffee at the link that I'll put on the screen, buymeacoffee.com/Scott Alan Miller. Of course, it's also going to be in the show notes, along with the expat community. Join us on Thursdays for the live stream. It's a lot of fun, and it's a good time to run these ideas by high-paid people, right? I've been talking to this person, they told me this. Is this real? Or I saw this video about constructing houses in Nicaragua, and they're telling me that it's $100 to $150 per square foot. Is that real? No, it is not. But what should it be? Join the community and find out. Or you're talking to people who are in those groups, and of course they have plants who get in and say things like, oh, everything in Nicaragua is so expensive. It's 3 times what it is in the US. Really? He couldn't even name a single thing that was more expensive. And he gave examples of how he was intentionally overspending to make it look like it was expensive. He didn't have an example of where it was actually more expensive. But of course, the people who are trying to sell services are jumping in going, oh, it is expensive, without any explanation or reason why we should believe that. Another common scam, but we'll save that for another time. Also down there, if you have any questions of your own, of course, you can just leave a comment. We'll do our best to get back on those things. But in the show notes is information on how you can send in a video of yourself, and we can put you on the show, which is a lot of fun and helps our community engage with each other and just better overall. So we've got lots of ways you can engage. We've also got some social media connections in there. If you need to contact me, everything's in there. The show notes are great. We don't sell anything here on the show. So your donations and your participation, that's all we're here for. So we want to make sure that your expatting and Nicaraguan adventure is as positive and good and healthy and safe as possible. Thanks for joining me. I will see all of you tomorrow.